Dinner at my dad's house had never been easy, but ever since he remarried, it had become something I mentally prepared for days in advance. His new wife, Linda, had a very specific kind of personality. Polite on the surface, sharp underneath. The kind of person who could insult you with a smile and somehow make everyone else laugh while doing it. That night, the table was full. My dad sat at the head, Linda beside him, her two adult kids across from me. A couple of relatives filled the remaining seats. The atmosphere felt warm at first, food, conversation, glasses clinking. But I knew better. It always started like this, and then slowly it would turn. Halfway through dinner, Linda set her glass down and looked straight at me. "So," she said, smiling sweetly, "how's your little job going?" Right on cue. I kept my voice steady. "It's going well." She tilted her head. "Still at that same small company?" "Yes." Her son chuckled under his breath. "Man, you've been there forever. Don't you ever want to aim higher?" A few people laughed. I gave a small nod. "I'm doing fine." Linda leaned back slightly, crossing her arms. "You know," she continued, "when I first met you, I thought you'd end up doing something much bigger." Another round of light laughter. I glanced at my dad. He didn't say anything, didn't offend me, didn't interrupt. He just kept eating like this was normal, like it always had been. Linda wasn't finished. "But I guess," she added, smiling again, "not everyone is built for success." This time the table went quiet for a second. Then someone let out an awkward laugh, and just like that, the moment passed. Or at least they thought it did. I slowly placed my fork down. For years, I had ignored comments like these, told myself it wasn't worth it, told myself keeping the peace mattered more. But something about the way everyone laughed tonight, the way my dad stayed silent, it felt different. I looked directly at Linda. Really looked at her. Then I said one simple sentence, and instantly the entire table went silent. "Funny," I said calmly. Linda smiled, expecting me to brush it off like always. "What's funny? That you think I work for someone else?" The table went quiet. Her son frowned. "What does that even mean?" I leaned back slightly in my chair, completely relaxed now. "It means I don't have a little job." Linda let out a short, dismissive laugh. "Oh, really?" "Yes." My dad finally looked up from his plate. "What are you trying to say?" I met his eyes. "I'm saying the company you all think I work at," I paused for just a second, "is mine." Silence. No laughter, no clinking of glasses, nothing. Linda blinked, clearly caught off guard. "That's not possible," she said quickly. "Why not?" I asked. "Because," she said, trying to regain control, "you've never mentioned owning anything." I shrugged. "You never asked." Her son leaned forward, squinting at me. "Wait, you're serious right now?" "Completely." My dad stared at me, confusion written all over his face. "You own that company for the past 4 years." He sat back slowly. 4 years. Linda forced a small smile. "Well, even if that's true," she said, "it can't be that significant." I almost smiled at that. "It depends on what you consider significant." She crossed her arms. "How big is it then?" Instead of answering directly, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Showing you," I replied. I opened a recent valuation report and placed the phone in the center of the table. At first, no one moved. Then my dad leaned forward. His eyes scanned the screen and his expression changed immediately. "What is this?" he asked quietly. Linda hesitated before leaning in as well. She read the number once, then again, her face lost its color. "This isn't real," she said under her breath. "It is." Her son grabbed the phone next. "No way," he muttered. "This says—" "I know what it says," I replied calmly. The number sat there clearly, impossible to ignore. 8 figures built quietly, without announcements, without approval, without anyone at that table noticing. My dad looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You built this yourself?" "Yes." While everyone thought I was working a small job, no one spoke. Linda straightened up in her chair, clearly trying to recover. "Well," she said, her tone noticeably softer now, "you should have told us." I looked at her. "Would it have changed anything?" She didn't answer because we both knew the truth. It would have changed everything. Her attitude, her tone, her respect, all of it. My dad cleared his throat. "This is impressive," he said. I nodded slightly. "Thank you." Linda tried to smile again. "Well, I didn't mean anything by what I said earlier." "Of course not," I replied, but we both knew she did. I picked up my phone and slipped it back into my pocket. The table felt completely different now. The same people who had been laughing just minutes ago were now careful with their words, measured, quiet, because the dynamic had shifted completely. I took a sip of my drink and set the glass down slowly. Then I looked back at Linda. "But you were right about one thing," I said. She blinked. "I was?" I nodded. "Yes." The table went still again because they could all feel it. Something else was coming, and whatever I was about to say next was going to land much harder than before. I looked directly at Linda. "You said not everyone is built for success." She shifted slightly in her seat. "I didn't mean—" "I know exactly what you meant," I said calmly. The room was completely silent now. Every eye at the table was on me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "Success isn't always loud," I continued. "It doesn't always show up in fancy titles or things people can easily recognize." I paused briefly. "Sometimes it looks like someone quietly building something while everyone else is too busy judging them to notice." Linda didn't say anything. For the first time since I'd known her, she had nothing to add. I turned slightly toward my dad. "You sat there and let this happen," I said. He looked down at his plate. "I didn't think it was that serious," he muttered. I nodded slowly. "That's the problem, because it never felt serious to them. Not the jokes, not the comments, not the constant reminders that I wasn't measuring up to whatever standard they had in their heads, until now." I leaned back in my chair, relaxed, composed. "Here's the truth," I said. "I didn't tell anyone about my company because I didn't need validation." I glanced around the table. I didn't need approval. My eyes landed back on Linda, and I definitely didn't need to prove anything to people who had already decided who I was. No one spoke. The silence wasn't awkward anymore. It was heavy, real. I picked up my glass again. "But you're right about one thing," I said, repeating her earlier words. She looked at me cautiously. "Not everyone is built for success." I let that sit for a moment. Then I finished the sentence. "And some people aren't built to recognize it either." Linda looked down at the table. Her son said nothing. The relatives who had laughed earlier avoided eye contact, and my dad, he still couldn't look at me. I stood up from my chair, not angrily, not dramatically, just calmly, because I had already said everything that needed to be said. "Enjoy dinner," I added quietly. No one tried to